I'm going to quit law for the second time and find and set out to find what it is that really makes me happy, even though I have no idea where to look.
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. Yo, man. Oh, Miss Rusty. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. I'm your host, Rusty Diamond. And you can check me out at rustydiamond.net. You can watch this show anywhere on YouTube or Rumble or anywhere you listen to podcasts, probably. And today, it's the 15th of October, 7 a.m. starting. So that means it's somebody on the other side of the world. So it's time for me to bring on my special guest right here and right now. And right here and right now, my special guest is Andrea Fung. And the recording is in progress. It's nice that someone else can kind of take charge of that. One day I'm gonna have somebody that is my person that goes and takes care of all my computer stuff. That's my goal,
Oh.
and I think my goal in life is to have someone that's going to take care of all that. But
Oh, I completely understand what that feels like. I remember like back in the day when I first started my business, I thought to myself, all I need is a VA and all I need is someone to create all of my content for me and then I just do the work. And then I realized, oh wait, no, I actually really have to know a lot more about what I'm about and how I like things to look like before I can delegate that work to someone else. And
right.
I realized, I didn't actually need them. I just needed me.
And I mean, what was that like? Was it you kind of had an idea of because I don't know, because I've had people that have worked for me. And
Mhm.
but again, same sort of thing. I didn't really know what it was I needed. And so hiring someone, it was like, I need help, but I can't really tell you what and how exactly to do it my way. And I think
Yes.
it's a hard thing. And so we get to just work with ourselves. And I don't know, have you gotten any progress with that, or have you figured anything out with that?
Well, I at the time that that actually happened, if I'm being honest, it was like number one, I was trying to make the business work, and number two, I was also trying to pawn off all the things that I just did not want to do. So to kind of like allow my fears to kind of like keep them in check, so to speak. So it's like,
Right.
instead of addressing my fears, whether it's, fear of being seen or fear of burnout or fear of rejection or whatever it is, it's just like, I'll just let someone else do that so that I don't have to deal with it, right?
That
Right?
no, that's a really good point. That's very insightful. And that just kind of is blowing my mind right now. Like shit, I should have just like been like, okay, I'm gonna do that. Like I should do it and I should embrace it and learn how to do it as part of the fucking whole process. And
Mm-hmm,
yeah, by not
mm-hmm.
doing it, uh yeah, it's gonna come back to bite me twice as hard for not
Yes.
doing it.
Yes, and it's gonna keep on coming back and coming back and coming back until finally you're like, okay, you know what? Let's just traverse to Mordor and finish off this ring. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. And that's a huge thing that I've only kind of am starting to pick up in the last 2 or 3 years, which
Mm.
is tough because I wish I would have 25 years ago, um, at least 25 years ago, when whenever that was, however old I was then. And yeah, like just not knowing that like yeah, if you fucking avoid it or whatever, it's gonna come back. And yeah, it's gonna come back harder and more often until you do it. And but it's one of those things too. Like I was also under the impression, if we're going down the hallucinogen path or some sort of mind expanding or whatever, whether it's in some sort of altered space, if it's some sort of meditation or whatever it may be, but like,
Ayahuasca, for
or
example.
ayahuasca, for example, you know, um, I guess with ayahuasca, like it's gonna come out no matter what. But I feel with some stuff you could be like, I don't want to do this if I'm having a bad, like I'm in kind of a bad headspace,
Mm-hmm.
um, or like think that I might have bad thoughts and have a bad trip. But
Uh-huh.
I was told that it is good to have, like, that's the best time to be able to address those things. And those are things that are obviously needing to be addressed. And so, like, having that bit of a quote unquote bad trip is a good thing because that's
Mm.
when you can really get to working through your own stuff. And I mean, like, when I'm hypnotizing people, it's like that's the best time for them to work through their deepest stuff that they have to work on is when they're at that most
Mm.
relaxed space and deep introspective thought. And so,
Mm. Very, very interesting. And so, like, when you were talking, 2 points actually came to mind. The first thought is, okay, so obviously, if triggers have come up, if something is come up, then it means that it is ready to be released for sure, right?
right.
Otherwise, it's not. Otherwise, if it's not coming up, it means that you're just not ready to address it yet, not ready to see it yet, or just outright not aware, right? So that's number one. But number
Yeah.
two, when you were talking about, you know, you mentioned that when you're in that bad headspace, sometimes it would be a good time to actually go on that trip. Then I'm just kind of curious because, like, when it comes to work like this, wouldn't it be better to be in a reasonably ready state to address such fears as opposed to being in I
That's a
know
good
that
point.
just from personal experience, if I'm in a really negative headspace, if I'm spiraling, right,
Yeah.
I wouldn't think, oh, I need to go on a trip to deal with this, you know what I mean? Like, I would think that maybe it would be better
Interesting.
to kind of be in a situation, in a headspace where it's like, okay, this has come up and maybe I need to just calm down a bit and just come back to my center, and then I can go on this trip to deal with it. What are your thoughts on that?
That's not a bad idea. Because yeah, like, I mean, part of it too is getting out of the the fight or flight mode that you're probably in when you're on the spiral, or in that, I don't know. Like, that's a big thing too of a lot of it with a lot of things is, not being in fight or flight mode because, when that's happening, like, you can't really take in any new thoughts. Um, it's just surviving, and there's not really room to start to grow and evolve and learn.
Mm.
But
And if you were to go on a trip at that time, there is a relatively high potential that one could sink even further.
possibly, or yeah, or that they're not going to be, like you were saying, ready or is open to
Mm.
know exactly what the underlying issue is that needs to be addressed at that time. And
Mm.
um, but yeah, and I mean, when it, I don't know. So then, how does someone does it just you know, um, time that kind of works through to get to that point where if you're already kind of spiraling down and you're
Mm.
down in that space, is it just time then and then more realization that this is something I need to work on to, get to the place where I can be, oh, now I should go and look within myself at what's going on here?
Well, I guess it would be dependent on the person, right? It wasn't that long ago where, if I was in that spiral, even if I was aware, I wasn't even aware at that time what the issue was. But even if there was also a period of time after that where I was aware, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to deal
Yep.
with this. This is far, far too scary. But then, intuitively, as we had talked about earlier on, where things just keep coming up and coming up and coming up until finally, yeah, as you said, after given enough time, how much longer, and this would depend on person to person, how much longer do you want to run, right?
Right. Right. And
And then, yeah, and then so at that point, it's just like, okay, I know that this is I'm probably not in the right headspace. And as you said before, I love what you talked how you mentioned, the fight or flight response. And it's like, okay, let me just get out of fight or flight so I can make a better I can make a more informed decision about what is the right way to address this, um, and to make it from the right space, from a centered space.
yeah, what's your method of getting out of fight or flight mode, or is it time? Or do you have something that helps you or could help other people with getting out of it? Or is it, I don't know, because and there's a lot of people that don't know that they're constantly in fight or flight mode, are just
Yeah.
completely unaware of it. And I
Mm.
mean, yeah, you don't make rational decisions. And I mean, how do you tell someone that too? Like, unless you have like a very, very like deep, uh, you know, connection with them of some sort, like being like, hey, it's like telling someone they need to calm down. Like, it doesn't always work too well when you tell someone they need to calm down, especially when they're very upset. But
Yeah.
if you tell someone they need to be like they're not being rational, I assume it would kind of be in the
It's
same
sensitive.
sense. Yeah. And I mean, it's all for the best. Like, or
Mm.
if you're talking with someone and they're very upset and you tell them to stop and take a few breaths, it's very much from a space of this is something that will help you and I'm trying to be nice, but at that time it's just seeing red. Like, don't tell me to stop and take a breath. I don't know. I wish more people would be open to taking that advice at that time, but then when there's the being stuck in the fight or flight response, it doesn't always work out that way, as nicely as it can happen. It's like, oh shoot, okay, that's, yeah, not really how I wanted it to go.
Mm. So no, I've had my fair share of being in fight or flight and also experiencing people in fight or flight. And I can tell you that the last thing I want to hear from someone if I'm in fight or flight is take a breath and calm down.
Right, right, yeah. Like, who wants to say that to someone? That's like one of the worst things you can say, but it's the most
The most
rational and best thing, like, meant to be said to someone. I wish there was something that could just be, this is something that needs to be taught so people can just know this and be aware of it when it's happening and do this, so there doesn't have to be that interaction anymore. But the fact that is something that a lot of people run from, that's something that should, I guess, just be addressed as something that we as a society need to go through and
Absolutely.
talk about. I
Mm.
think that could help out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And like everyone's journey and everyone's experience with fight or flight is so is so different, and it's such an individual journey. And I love what you said about how, this is something that more people should talk about, because a large majority of society, I believe, are in fight or flight. I mean, just look at the wars that and battles that are happening. I mean,
Yeah,
that alone is signifying fight or flight perpetually. you
yeah,
know
absolutely. And it's going, 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 and that's what you see. And so I mean, just even I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how many people are not in fight or flight mode in one way or another. It's hard to
Mm,
um yeah, I mean, I would say more than 50% of the population. I don't know what pop percent the population is constantly in fight or flight mode in the world.
mm,
Um I don't know. I don't know if I was gonna guess, I would say 70-75% of people are in fight or flight mode at any given
mm,
time in the world. I don't want to think that, but deep down, that's what I'm thinking. And I would say maybe 10% of those people know that they're in fight or flight mode all the time.
mm, well, at least the awareness is really important. Awareness is already half the battle won.
Right.
Oh, look, I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what level or what percentage. I can't even quantify it, but all I can really say is that I would say a large majority of the world are in fight or flight, yeah, at any
Yeah.
given time. And I think the only way to really deal with or handle with compassion, and with empathy, is, I think, really just to be able to show support, just to be able to just listen, even if it's just for 5-10 minutes, until this person is done ranting, and like
Yeah.
allowing the process of the emotions of the fight or flight to just release, and just like, even if it means someone word vomiting at you for like 5, 10 to 15 minutes or something. But just, I used to underestimate how powerful it is just to have someone there, just there,
Right.
not even talking, okay? Just
Yeah.
there, hearing me talk about nothing, about things going in cycles, about nonsense. And then
Right.
eventually all they have to do and say is like, I'm here for you. And that in itself is already so incredibly helpful. And once that fight or flight, and once you're out of that fight or flight mode, just from being in that situation and having let all the initial intense emotions out, then we can come into, hey, Rusty, shall we just breathe into our bellies for a little while, like, just
Yeah.
and knowing full well that we're not gonna that there's no solution to this at this present moment, and maybe a solution will come tomorrow or the day after, or maybe a week from now, or even never. But for the time being, let's come back to us
Yeah. And I mean,
and get
I
cake.
yeah, ideally that would be fucking amazing. Like if we could get to that as a society, um, or even just as individual people, like one person doing that is amazing. Like because I mean, just to have someone stop and just shut up and let it happen. But I don't know if there should be some sort of something said right there before, like just okay, get it all out, like just say it all. Or I mean, how do you really be able to let the person say that they're, they this okay for them to uh word vomit, or I forgot what the term you use specifically there, but
No, that
just
sounds
to
alright. Yeah, I said word vomit.
okay, so yeah, let them just completely do that and let it go. I mean, um is it something that would just come up naturally, or would there have to be some phrase, and then how do you make that phrase not seem, I don't know, to make it seem as calming as possible without making it sound condescending? Because I feel like condescension kind of becomes the main thing that um kind of pops up at that time for it. Like, don't tell
Mm,
me to that I need to do this or whatever, like what, whatever it is. And,
mm,
I don't know.
It is.
Yeah,
It,
go ahead.
it's an interesting question because I mean I feel like it's a very, again, I think it's a very case by case kind of person depending on what level of awareness they are at. So, for example, most of my friends, before they would vomit on me, and not many of them even do anymore. They would always ask me, "Hey, Andy, I've got this issue. I'm so angry about this, or I'm upset about this. Do you have space? Do you have space to hold space for me?" In which case, then I can say, "Okay, look, I'm not free now. Can I call you in an hour?" And then let's have a good catch up. So those are how my conversations go. But then in the event of someone who's just totally lost it, and then at the same time I'm in that same, if I'm in the space of being able to hold the space, I could the way I would do it, just personally, and also it's different depending on how well I know the person. If it's like a friend, it would be like, "Hey, I'm here for you. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah,
We can just have like a quick chat if you want. Just let it all out. I know some things are sometimes things get really, really frustrated. I've been there. I get it." And then if someone who is not so close, I would just kind of like, do I want to expend that space, that time and energy for this person? Because it can get quite heavy. And at that point, it's kind of like, it's up to you how much you want to invest time and effort, depending on the closeness of how you are with that person.
yeah. And so I have a side question here. So the term holding space is kind of a newer term, I believe. Um,
Is it?
what I don't know. I mean, what would have been the term before holding space? What would it have been? What would have been the equivalent of that? Because I don't know. Like I feel it's a term that's I understand what it means, but I'm not quite sure what people used to say before that.
Okay, so I think, yeah. So holding space, I guess it would be something, it would be a term that I only learned when I got into personal development. But before that, it would just been like, before they would be like, "Hey, Andy, I'm so upset about this. Can we talk?"
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
so what would the other person say then? Like if you said I want, someone says to you, "Hey, I got a lot to talk about. I need to talk with you." And then what would you say for the equivalent of I have space and I'll hold space for you for that?
Um, well, considering I only got into personal development maybe 3, 4 years ago, I would have just been like, "Okay, wait, I'm really quite busy right now, so I can't do it right now, but I'll call it in an hour." But other than that, you'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I'm here for you. I'm all ears. What's up?"
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm all ears would be a good one. That would be
yeah,
like what it maybe it would have been right there. Okay, thank you for that.
yeah.
Um, so I mean, what got you into the personal development train? And I don't know if you've talked about this 100 times in other podcasts, but or
I can talk about it all day. It's okay.
okay, all right, all right.
So what got me into personal development was actually the pandemic. Um,
Ooh, good. I like these stories.
yeah. So when the
Good.
pandemic hit, work slowed down. I was, I was sent to work from home, and so I had a lot of time to myself. And not only did I have a lot of time to myself, I couldn't go out to meet my friends. I couldn't go out to party. I couldn't go out to do all the things that I really actually enjoyed. But what I didn't understand or realize at the time was how much all that, the social life and then the entertainment actually balanced out the misery of being in a law career. So 3 years prior to 2020, I had already quit law once. And then I went on this like 8-month sabbatical to South America and Europe and the UK, hoping to find career inspiration. And I found a lot. I found a lot of myself, but didn't find that. So when I came back, I thought, okay, let's just go. I need money. I have responsibilities. Let's just go and do another area of law so it's not so heavy. And so I did that. And then when the pandemic hit, I realized, wow, I have a great boss. I have a great job. I have great pay, and I am literally so miserable. And it's kind of like, if I already have everything and I'm still this miserable, this empty, then I don't know where else to turn. I literally don't at this point. And I know nothing about personal development. I was not brought up in an environment where I knew people who were into personal development. Yeah, motivational speakers, people with psychic abilities, or healers, or whatever. I don't know anyone. It's just literally not in my reality. But at the time, my housemate, he had been working with a coach who is actually like a healer. And he told me like, no, go and work with this person. And I saw the change in him over the course of the few months. And he was like, I will even pay for half of your course, half the cost for you to go and work with this person. And that sold it for me. Obviously I paid for the whole thing myself, but at that time, just the fact that he said that, it was like, okay, he strongly believes in this, and I also see the results in him. And so I did that, and then I decided, you know what?
You will sleep better than you have ever slept. You've never been this relaxed. Are you ready to change your life? I'm Rusty Diamond, certified hypnotist. You don't need to leave your house. You can stay in your bed. You can stay in your favorite chair. You just need a computer or your phone. You can get a hold of me. Stay at home. I'll make your life better.
Hypnosisisgreat.com.
I'm going to quit law for the second time and set out to find what it is that really makes me happy, even though I have no idea where to look. So that was it. So then I created a list of 100 things that I would do forever. And the top 3 were prancing about in bikinis in various exotic beaches, spreading positive messages. So I created.
I'm still trying for that one. I'm working on that one. I'm like about this close right now to getting to that one. I'm trying so hard. That's all I want.
To prancing in bikinis in exotic beaches?
Yeah, pretty much. If it's bikini, if I have to wear a bikini for it, so be it. That sounds all right. I want those. Yeah, I want that spot. Okay, but anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, then both of us can have that shared vision then.
Cool. I like that.
So because I love traveling, and so I have a whole load of photos that I could upload from wherever. And so so I started up an Instagram account, and everything just went from there. And when it came down to deciding. It really came down to deciding that I do not want to be in this space anymore. It's like, yes, it is familiar. Yes, it is good money. And yes, it is stable. But what is the point of all of that if I am so miserable? At least if I take a chance at the unknown, there's a 50% chance that I'm going to hit gold and find the next breadcrumb. Maybe not find the thing, but find the next breadcrumb. And so it started off that I decided, okay, I'm going to quit law. I'm going to become a social media influencer. And then the opportunity came to be a social media manager. What did I know about any of that? Nothing. And then I came across this digital nomad coach that I thought, she helps people travel all around the world, and I want to do that. But oh my God, to be a digital nomad coach is to help someone build a business. How can I help someone build a business when I was building my own business, And then I was so burnt out that coaching business tanked so hard. And then I decided, you know what? F this. I'm going to go interstate for a holiday, for a little mini holiday. And I randomly opened LinkedIn, and I suddenly got a message from the director of this coaching institute in the city that I live, saying like, hey, I've got some people that I want to coach. I'd love for you to come and coach with me. he wanted to coach a few, a bunch of marketing consultants, and I had literally exchanged 2 comments with him on a post that I wrote on LinkedIn.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and so surrender.
yeah. Well, and side note, like having a business tank is one of the best things that can happen to anybody who is
Yes.
doing anything with doubling down and betting on themselves. Like it's great. It's one of those things like that teaches you a lot about yourself. That teaches you a lot
Yes.
about I guess yourself more than anything else. Like I don't know. It's hard at first to look at it that way, but eventually get into that spot. It's like, yeah, I'm glad that that tanked. Like
Yes.
that taught me tons, and that taught me more. And then also, getting out of that, um, the job that wasn't doing it for you. I
Mm.
mean, I've had kind of similar situations, and I always would say, peace of mind's worth more than any fucking paycheck. As stupid and cliche as that sounds, like
Mm.
it's very true. I mean, like, I don't know, like, and it was always that, like, I don't know, when that stuff kind of ends, something else, you kind of go back to the drawing board, but with a few more tools, and you're ready
Yes.
to go, and it's fun. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, so
No, no, no,
continue
not
with.
at all.
Okay. All
Not
right.
at all. And I was actually quite I want to add one point, and after that I want to ask about like, I want you to share your experience. So when you were talking about how having your business tank is one of the best things that can happen to you. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah.
because if you've tried so hard at something and it tanks, because not only does it teach you so much about you, it also shows you what is not for you. So over the course of, okay, remember how I told you about how I was not familiar with personal development at all, like
Right.
nothing. Okay, so that means that I also know nothing about energy healing. I know nothing about spirituality, esoteric wisdom, galactic star family, nothing.
Yep.
Okay, psychic gifts, what is that even? Like,
Yep.
I don't know what that is. But with every single thing that failed, it brought me closer to what I'm doing now. Because I don't want to hold on to something that is not for me, you know? So if I look back now and I ask myself, oh, Andy, like, can you imagine like if things worked out? Can you imagine if the digital nomad coaching business worked out? And I'd be like, what? And miss out on all the things that I'm doing now? Like finding my purpose and like doing work where it feels like this is what I was born to do. I mean, yeah, I would fail everything to get to this point. I will fail 10, 20 times more so that I can get to this point. And so, yeah, I want to add that particular note is that for every part that actually fails, it just means that it's bringing you closer to where you need to go and what is actually meant for you. It's creating space for all the things that are actually like meant for you. And isn't that just magical?
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, and I was in the same boat. Like I thought that,
Yes.
I thought anything of this nature of, I don't know. You got some.
What happened? I think you're muted now, Rusty.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think I might get a headphone maybe here soon. Okay. Um,
What happened?
I don't know. I was hearing like noise from my headphones, and I didn't.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's not anymore. It was I just jiggled a chord. Um, I mean, even so, like with the podcast, like learning
Mhm.
that. So I got into Oh, geez. During the pandemic, I got into live streaming for a minute, and
Ooh, how was that?
it was fun. Because let's see, I don't know what I was doing first. So it was around the same time. So there was this one, it was on, shit. I want to say it was from people that were mostly from the Philippines. And
Okay.
then so where was I living? I think I was living maybe 2 hours behind there. So it was like I'd be up at like 5 in the morning, or something, and getting on and live streaming, just sort of talking with whoever was on there. And
Mhm.
it was a fun thing. And then that one kind of died off. And then there was another one that was people that were mostly in Taiwan. And it was, um, and then there was so then I bought all this stuff, all this equipment, for my computer and the setup in here. And then there's this other live streaming thing called Whatnot, and it's like a live auction kind of thing. So I got on when they started selling clothes on there, and I was like one of the first people that was selling clothes on there. And so what you do is you just have like all your clothes. Like they do this, I think, on Instagram and some other things now.
Mhm.
Like, so I'd be on there live streaming. I'm like, okay, hey, I got this shirt. Here it is. Like, this is what it is. And then people start bidding on the stuff. And then so like I could, I think like some of the days I moved at least, I think one of them I had like 200 shirts in a day, but like I do I swear it was usually like at least like 50 to 80 in like two hours maybe. Or like just like it was crazy. It was a lot of fun. Uh
Yeah.
and then there got to be they let more and more people in, and it was more people like I couldn't really compete with. Like I had a certain little bit of a niche. But once these other bigger people came in, I just kind of got pushed out. And it would be like, so when I do mine, there'd be these other people that were doing it at the same time, and they had better stuff, and I just kind of got priced out. But
Mm.
also with yeah, all this stuff that I bought for live streaming, and then I bought like fucking so much. Just I bought all this equipment, and then and podcasting, and like buying a nice mic, nice studio headphones and stuff. And then I got a thing, a this headset
Yeah.
that there's no thing in between it that plugs into that plugs into the computer. This literally just plugs into my headphone jack, and it cost $21. And it was just like, shoot, I can't believe that this little thing, like, and it sounds better than anything else I was using. And yeah, I mean, just learning a lot. And then yeah, then like the live streaming and the online auctions, just like kind of watching those tank, just kind of, yeah, led me to simplifying what I want and making it more into, something that's more me. And you know, not having to do what I want. Or else, like, hold on one second here. I'm gonna
Sure.
try. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So I think that's all right. So it just, I mean, even like before I got into hypnosis, like I didn't
Mhm.
like like you were saying too, like I didn't believe in any of this stuff. I didn't believe in any. thing? Any healing, any energy healing?
Oh,
You know.
it's not even that I didn't believe in it. I just
Oh,
didn't know it existed. That's
oh,
the
okay,
thing. Yeah. Like I've heard of hypnosis, but I didn't really understand what that is. So I grew up in like a religious Christian family, right? So hypnosis
okay,
is like the devil's work.
right.
So yeah, and so when it came to like, working with chakras, I didn't know that this was a thing, or like or channeling or communicating with light beings, like going into meditation, or that I just didn't know that this was a thing. And I didn't know anyone. I wasn't
Yeah,
exposed to anyone who was into things like that either.
right.
So yeah.
And so, I mean, so what happened when you're like, oh, I'll try this out?
Well, okay, so now I can go back to the story of when I was working for for the director of that coaching institute, coaching his clients. So that
Yeah.
was purely mindset work. So I did that for like I think like a year, but like 6 months in, I felt like I wanted to learn NLP, and so when
Ooh,
I learned that, and I was like, oh, I was still very trauma driven, ego driven at the time, and I wanted to join this community of 6 7 figure entrepreneurs, because I feel like I wanted a validation, I wanted success. Well, not I wanted, I needed it, and if I didn't, I'll feel like a failure. But then the universe had other plans, because the moment I finished that program, I got a call from my brother saying like, hey, man, like I can't get a nanny for my daughter. I really need you to fly over here because she has COVID. I had COVID before, and now she has COVID, and things are just terrible right now. So I flew over there, and while I was there, I just didn't have capacity to do anything, to work on my business, to do anything, because I was looking after, a sick child, and that was like a 24-hour thing, or at the very least a 12-hour thing. And when I was stuck, I was talking to a friend of mine saying like I was crying. I was like, I can't work on my business. I can't do this. And I feel terrible. I feel ashamed. I feel guilty. I feel like I failed. And she said like, Andy, if you can't even do anything at the moment, what about we just stop? And if you were to follow your joy right now, if you were to do what made you happy, because when you quit law, you said that you only wanted to follow your joy. So if you were to follow your joy right now, what would you do? And I said, well, I kind of wanted to I wanted to learn. I love to, find my star family, soul family. So I knew someone at the time. She's a friend who channels Arcturians, but as part of her service, she also offered theta healing. So I
cool.
didn't, yeah, and I don't even know what that is. You know what I mean? But after experiencing theta healing, I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so good, that I signed up for the rest of the year, all the courses, so that I can be certified as a theta healer. And shortly after that, I was offered an opportunity to learn this other modality from another mentor, going into the inner heart space and all of these things. So just like that was how theta healing came about, and that is how energy healing came about. And from then, that was how, divine purpose, soul calling, soul mission, everything literally just presented itself, handed to me on a silver platter. And it's not
Yeah.
like, yeah, and it's not like I know to look for these things. I know nothing about them. How can I look for something that I know nothing about? I can't have manifested it, or at least definitely not intentionally. But
What? Yeah.
it was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yes, one of those things like, yeah, who would like, that's nothing that was in our vocabulary or even our
No,
world at all. Like, yeah, if
no.
you, yeah, how do you ask for something you don't know even exists? And
Yes.
yeah. And so, what, what was the first time once you worked with your first person as the healer where
Mm,
you got to a point where you're like, oh, okay, this is great and this is what I need to focus on.
mm.
This is what I need to be doing.
So the question is, at which point was it? At which particular
Yeah, like
time that
what,
I worked with a person
yeah, when
and
you worked with a
decided?
person when you were the healer, not
Mm.
I mean, you're still healing yourself when you're healing someone else.
Mm.
But what was the first time when you were doing that where you felt like, okay, this is the right idea. This is the
Mm.
right path. I'm doing the right thing.
I think this was when I was still in training for theta healing. When it comes to things like that, when you're in the class, you practice with the other people, the other students learning with you.
Yep,
And
which
it's
is
one
awesome.
thing, yes, and it's
So
great. I love it. But in saying that, it's one thing to practice with someone who is familiar with the work. It's another thing to work on someone who doesn't really know much about the work. And
good point.
so and so I had a friend at the time that I was communicating with. This is a friend that we've known each other since we were 18. And so I kind of said to her, okay, look, do you want to be my guinea pig? And so
Yep.
I threw everything at her, like, the NLP that I learned. We worked through, a fair bit of whatever trauma that she's been experiencing or whatever limiting beliefs that she needed to let go of. And it was when I was working with her that I was like, yeah, this is the path. I don't know that this is the whole path, that this is the be all and end all, but for now, this is this is it. Like, this is the it. And then as time went on, there was still like a little bit more to uncover. And the biggest moment when I had that, oh my gosh, the moment of, oh my gosh, I was born to do this, was during the 8-8 gateway last year. Do you know about
Oh,
gateways?
okay.
You know about that, right? Lionsgate?
Yeah, there were I learned a little bit of it. There were people that are in um I have a group called Pop-Up Healing, and
Yeah.
I learned about it then during because we
Yes.
uh there was a bunch of intentions set that day, and I think we also launched something on that day, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So I know a little bit,
Beautiful.
but what did you do for that day?
So the mentor that I was working with at the time, she put up a post about, oh, I want to hold this facilitators event, or, for this 8-8 gateway. And so just to let you know, this was last year, okay? I didn't even know what a gateway was. So I would hear people in spiritual communities or spiritual circles talk about this gateway. And even though I hear them mention the gateway, okay, so I know that this gateway is an important thing, or this portal is an important thing, but it might as well have been a physicist standing in front of me talking to another physicist about the physics of a ball bouncing. I'm not going to really understand what that is, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
and so when she put up that post, I thought, oh, I want to sign up for it. And then it was only after I signed up for it that I read through the full description, that she wasn't running just an event. She was running a facilitator's training. And I was like, okay, so I've signed up for a facilitator training, but that's fine. And she said, like, oh, it's actually when I created that post, the first thing that came to mind was actually you. And so it was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And then the next day, I don't know what it was. Like, something about me was just like, Andy, you should hold a gateway event. Like, do a gateway event. And I was just thinking, I don't know what a gateway is. Like, how can I run a gateway event when I don't know what that is? And so I was toing and froing about it. And then I kind of thought, look, if my entire body and my whole being is screaming at me, Andy, go and create this gateway event, then it would be, this is like, how, like, we get these intuitive nudges. So this is an intuitive nudges times 1,000. So, so I kind of thought to myself, okay, you know what? I'm going to message my mentor and be like, okay, look, this is going to sound a bit crazy. I don't know what a gateway event is, but I feel this strong this strong urge to hold a gateway event. If I complete this facilitators training that is just literally going to last 3 hours, is that going to be enough for me to hold this event? And she was like, look, if you are feeling like you need to go and do this, then hold it. Whatever it is that you need to hold this event, what you are going to learn in this little mini training is going to be enough. And so I decided I'm going to hold this event. I don't know who is going to join, because even I have doubts about how am I going to hold this event, right? But
Yeah.
what was really interesting was 10 people signed up for my first gateway event. That's number one. And number two, when I was thinking about about the meditation or the guided activation that I wanted to take the people through, I would sit in meditation every single day. And have you ever watched like Iron Man? And
Yeah, okay.
you know how Tony Stark, he has this thing where it's like floating figurines, and then he moves them about and puts things in place and stuff like that. Do you know that scene?
Uh-uh.
Okay. So
Oh,
so imagine like this AI visualization, and then you're just like swapping things out and putting things together like a virtual reality kind of thing. So when I
okay.
go into my meditation, that was how the entire activation was created and structured. It was
Oh,
literally like that. And then yeah, so I ran the event on the 8/8 gateway, one in the afternoon and one at night, for to account for different time zones. And that was the first oh my God moment where it was like, I was born to do this.
that's awesome.
And I have never felt that way in my life. And it was the feeling that I have been looking for all my life. I was looking for something or a kind of activity or a kind of work or whatever it is that felt like I was here to do this. I came here to do this.
And so then what happens to your, I mean, like, this, like if someone came up to you and said, I want you to go back into law and I'll pay you double what you're getting paid right now or what you were getting paid at your highest point, what would your head do?
It would be an easy no, because bearing in mind I had quit law twice now. So if the first time, the only reason I went back into it a second time was because, well, I needed money and this was the fallback. I didn't know any other way. But when I quit law the second time, I had said to myself, I am not going back. Like, even if I had to sell my body under a bridge, I am not going back. I would rather just sell my body under a bridge rather than go
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
And once you get that spot of the, like you're saying, with, feeling that's what you're meant to do, like
Yeah.
what else? Why do something else? Like you got it. And um and now you know and you know what it is and how to sell yourself and experience onto that now that it's something that has happened. Like, so back, I don't want to go on this, but so we just had our first event, and like when we, like, right before we started, I said I want to be done with this. I just want to be
Mm,
on the other side of this. Like, I'm really excited to do this, but I want to be at the part where we've done this and they're like, because everything was just kind of conceptual until then. Like,
mm,
wouldn't it be cool if we do this? And then, but it's not like I've done this. This is kind of what the results are. And this is, how we know best of how everything works together. And,
mhm.
now that you're at that part of it, of being on the other side, like, yeah, like now it's something that you've done. What was your first idea of what you wanted to do next with it?
I've been asked this question.
Oh, well,
Um,
well then let's
I,
skip that one. Let's skip
no, no,
that
no, no,
one.
no, 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 no. I've been asked. The reason I say that I've been asked this question is because at the times I've been asked this question several times over a certain period of time, and I could never really come up with the right answer. So, for example, I knew that I wanted to work with people. I wanted to work with one-on-one with clients, for example, but I wasn't really sure. I couldn't visualize who exactly it is would be the ideal client for me, for example. So I bring that up so to say that I've been workshopping this question for a while, and I love that you're asking me this now because I finally have the answer.
I had a
So
hunch.
yes, you just knew. So first and foremost, what do I want to do with this is, so part of the reason why I love the gateway events is because I just love Earth. Like I
Cool.
connect more with Earth and the consciousness of Earth rather than I do with people. But in saying that, we are all part of Earth. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so the work where I want to go with this work that I'm doing is ultimately I want to help people be connected to all that is, and to have that, to experience that oneness, that stillness upon being a part of Earth. And I think not many people know how to really connect and do that. You know how they in personal development circles they say go out to nature to ground, but it's so much more than that. It is so
Right.
much. The feeling is so much more expansive than just going out and putting your feet on the grass. It's in a whole new world that could open up. And when you experience that oneness, that stillness, you can't, you just, that wholeness really, you just can't get enough of it. So that's like one aspect. And another aspect is I would love to go to different sacred sites like all around the world and just, do the earth work around those sacred sites. So I did that when I was in Japan. I did that when I was in Egypt. Both of those countries came to me in meditation first, and then I
Cool.
went. Yeah. So, travel looks different for me now as a result of that. And so yeah, I want to that's where I want to take this work. And now that you've asked me this question, I want to ask you, like, where do you want to take your work?
Uh, Same sort of thing. Like I, it was, I mean, honestly, where I want to take it is I want to have it be I am out bodyboarding with a group of people and
I love
doing
that.
doing my meditation,
Oh,
hypnosis, like before, like get out there first thing in the morning. 'Cause that's when I like to go because there's, I'm up before the sun every day, and so
5
um
a.m. club?
yeah, totally. And I'm ready for that. That's what my goal is to get to a place where I can go around the world and do that. That's what I want. That was like the first thing that I thought of that I want to do is just get to there to do that. I'm like trying to push it like on the other people in the group. I'm like, so when we go and like we can go and get this one that's out in Hawaii or down in Mexico or somewhere with some good waves and like I don't know. I'm pushing for that. So that's where I want, like, for sure. Like if I could do that, that's
Yes,
100% where I want to be. If I could do that every day, fuck yeah. Like that's
I love
that's the
that.
good life. So that's
Is
my short answer.
is that, like, I mean, all of that sounds really great, and I am so rooting for you to get to that life, Rusty. And I want to ask, like, I mean, is there like even like, are there some waves nearby? Maybe it's not Hawaii or Mexico, but is there anywhere kind of like nearby, something, or another, or some other kind of activity that can give you a similar euphoria? Not the same, but similar, somewhat.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm about 2.5 miles, 2.5 hours from the Jersey Shore. I don't
That's
like
not so
which.
bad.
No, that's not so bad. It's not so hot. I would like to get to some warmer waters, but yeah, even now, yeah, just like maybe yeah, doing something even out there and just being next to the ocean could be a good one. I don't know. Yeah, like yeah, I'm not too sure. I like that idea. Like there's something about, yeah, being out there is nice. And
It's
like
different.
yeah, the place that we did our event was a place like up in the mountains, in which I
Mhm.
also like too. So, you know, it's yeah, I'm down with both, but yeah, there's something about being in
The
the ocean,
waves.
in the waves. Like there's something to that. I mean, I grew up in where it's rainy and gray and dark for 10 months out of the year. So
Uh,
that could be part of what it is. Whereas like
yeah.
I need to have something different. And so like yeah, having the warm ocean's always kind of been the nice spot for me. And I got to do it a couple times this last year.
Yeah?
So
Where did you
yeah,
go?
I went to Florida
Hmm.
and went to Maui. And
Oh, that would have been beautiful.
yeah, and every day I was out there like first thing in the fucking morning, just
Mm.
out there and just like, yeah, this is like if I can do this with hypnosis of some sort and just, just sit there like I don't know how good it would be if we were in the water doing it, but maybe it's probably better in case someone falls asleep or closes their eyes. Like, I don't, it doesn't
Maybe
always have
by
the
the
best thing.
beach might be a bit safer.
Yeah. I thought about that too with hot
Yeah.
tubs. Like, I wanted to be the hot tub hypnotist. And that was the thing that came up, or like the hot springs hypnotist. But then I'm like, yeah, I kind of have to be out of the water or like have it so people can't drown. Like, so I
Mm,
also I'm sorry I'm doing all these I things here right now and it kind of
it's
um
fine.
but
Share the
so
story.
there's I got into float tanks like the sensory deprivation tanks.
Oh, those are so good. Those are
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, and so like when I first got into hypnosis, it was like right before my friend brought me to one, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing! Like I love this." And then I got into hypnosis, and I was like, because at the end of it, they put music on,
Mm,
um, to like get out. It's time that you're done. So I was thinking, okay, well, there's speakers in there, so like, what if I did a hypnosis recording and put it in there to listen to? And I got to try it. And then I was trying to pitch it to like different places, different float tank places, like all across the country, and nobody really wanted to do it. And then I, when I moved out here, I saw that someone was like doing a test run for hypnosis in float tanks. And so went and tried it out. And I was like, this
how is
sucks.
it?
Like it was some recording of a British guy talking about whatever, and it was just
What?
very generic. And so
Yeah.
I told them, okay, like, look, let me do one here, and I want to make it like specific for being in these tanks, like with what happens while you're in there, and
Mm,
really make it specific to that. And so I worked together with uh, this place, and we got to get like a whole hour one recorded, and so like if
yeah.
yeah, people can go in there now and get a hypnosis recording while they're floating, which I'm I'm half for. I do want people to do it silently with no light as well, though, like
Mm,
and not do the hypnosis. But like if they've done it before, then I would have them do it because I really think the being in there with complete silence and complete darkness, and where you're
floating.
just floating, you can't drown,
Mm,
like just to have that experience of being in your head and having that opportunity to get that state of meditation or whatever
yeah.
it may be called. But yeah, I don't know, I like there's something about warm water and with with me, and then with adding, I like adding more and more modalities on stuff. And that was kind of part of the reason for the pop-up healing, like
Mm.
sort of like how can I do like, because my first idea was to do, because I was getting a massage, and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if a massage and like get like hypnosis and then like acupuncture, like all at the same time. But at least in Oregon, when I first started training for hypnosis, there was a
Yeah.
rule or a law that you can't be in the same room with someone that doesn't have their clothes on. Um, and do
Okay.
hypnosis because of, you know, there can be all
Yeah.
sorts of things.
Dod
And so like,
There are
yeah,
dodgy facilitators all around
yeah,
the place. Yeah.
yeah. And so then that's how I got into like the idea of the recording for the inside the float tank, because then like it's like, I'm in there, but like I don't have to be in there with someone that doesn't have their clothes on. It's like
Yeah.
it's just a recording of me.
Mm.
Um, which is nice. What one day, like I don't know, because if like put all the stuff together and like have someone doing Reiki and stuff, then too on top of that, like have someone get like all these experiences all at once.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, that's my goal. I guess I want to get to a thing. How many different things at once can I do at once for someone? Like how many different
So,
modalities?
so are you looking to, um, do you want to have like some sort of like a group or like an institution where people walk in to receive the variety of modalities?
Yeah, yeah, all at once, or like at least part of it all at once, and then specific to each one, whatever they want to do.
Mm.
But yeah, I think that getting all of them at once would be a really cool experience and a whole lot done at once.
I guess it will be how you stack them together, because when it comes to, I'm sure you don't, when it comes to any kind of like energy work or subliminals, hypnosis, stuff like that, it can be quite taxing on the body. And so it's about, yeah, how you stagger them, or
Yeah,
or how you take someone through the experience of working them up towards something or working them down towards something, depending on how you want to stack it up.
yeah. And yeah, it's yeah, that was another thing. That was like another question for the event. Like how much time does each person who is a guest, and how much time does each person for a healer kind of need in between to kind of like let everything process? And like if, because we were planning on doing a 2 or 3 day event, and like
Mm.
how much can you really do? You can't, I don't think you could have stuff go straight through every day, like have it, whatever, 9 to 5, no break. Besides eating food, I think you probably need some other break to kind of let people
Yeah,
be able to, kind of let everything sink in and be able to process and heal
yeah,
before hopping into the next part.
yeah, yeah. It does require some time for integration, and also, it's there also has to be, I guess, a process to determine how much, like, at what stage of healing a person is at, or at what stage of consciousness they're at, whether they can take it or whether they should take all the range of the modalities that are actually like on offer, right?
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, kind of, yeah, be able to pick and choose and see what works best for them, or let the healers choose. And yeah, I don't know, it's going to be a lot of testing stuff out, and
Yeah.
seeing what works and getting it more and more scaled. And then so yeah, now you got yours set up, and like Have you done any online summits or anything like that for like just like a speaker, a speaker panel of sorts? Have you done those?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I did one where I was a virtual speaker for this like a women's wellness leadership summit or something that was it was an in-person event in France. This was I think like May, but I appeared virtually. And recently there was this Women's Spirit Festival where yeah, we go live within the Facebook group and talk about you can share anything. So those are the two main ones in terms of like speaker summits. Outside of that, it's mainly been appearing on podcasts, on multiple podcasts, and yeah, you're just sharing the journey and it's been really, really. I have to say, like, I kind of love these experiences because it's really like allowed me to find my voice and actually feel comfortable sharing just sharing my story and sharing what I do because I always had this belief that like I don't know how to explain what it is that I do. And I
Yeah,
realized it just sounds like I don't know how to explain what I do because the audience wasn't the right audience.
very true. Very true. And yeah, there's I mean, do you have people that like still like what is she doing? Or is it, have they kind of come around to it? Or it's still like, oh, uh do you want me to call you Andy? Now that we're almost done here, do you want me to call you Andy or
Yeah, you can call
so
me Andy.
you said Andy. Okay. So um what Andy's doing over here or what Rusty's doing over here, like what is that? Like that can that be, is that for real or you find that still or are people those people kind of coming around or are you just around different people now
I think
more?
I'm just around more different people now. So I mainly heard that when I went back to Malaysia last year. So my parents still live there. And I haven't been back in like 10 years. So when I went there, I had I had a friend or two from high school saying, "Oh, what it is that, tell me more about what you do." And I found myself stuck. I didn't know where to even begin. And so my first question was, you know how everything has a consciousness? It was such a terrible starting point, Rusty. And
You weren't able to bring everybody in with that one. Not everybody was saying yes at that point and saying yeah. So then what was the follow-up to that question? Or was it
well,
just a scramble to
it, it was a scramble. Like it was a scramble. Like I tried to explain it, but I couldn't. And all I say is this: when I was in Malaysia, I had I don't know, 50 opportunities to talk about what it is that I do, to explain what it is that I do, and I gave 50 different versions of what it is that I did, and I butchered them all. And so I thought this year, now that I'm back in Australia, I'm going to talk. I'm going to put myself in a position where I am able to just at least just share my story of how I got to this point. And then as time goes on, I'll feel more comfortable. I'll be able to articulate better the details of what it is that I do. And I realized this entire year when I was talking to people who are in personal development spaces, they understand, like, they actually really get it. And then I realized, okay, so maybe I'm like maybe I just feel, or maybe it feels like I'm not good at explaining what it is that I do because it's just to the wrong crowd. But in saying that, on one hand, it's potentially to the wrong crowd, but on the other hand, you know that you have achieved a level of mastery when you're able to teach it to someone,
right. And
right?
yeah, and you know, part of that crowd may become your crowd at some point and the stupid saying the whatever the teacher only appears when the student is ready.
Yes.
And that's one that it's like okay, yeah, that like I would have loved to have been starting doing hypnosis at 18 years old as opposed to being don't know, 35, 36 or something. And
But would you have been
yeah,
ready at
I
18?
wouldn't have been ready. I would have been an
Exactly.
idiot. Like, and I
Yes.
wouldn't have had any right knowing any of that. Like, and the people I was around wouldn't have been the right people, like that would have kind of understood what I
Supported.
was doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, everything just evolves and we get to where we are. And now you have your story on here. And if, I mean, you can cut it up however you want, do whatever you want with it. And I mean, I don't know. I really like I don't know. I had it for a while, like with the, 2020 time, whatever people want to call it, like the people that were able to go within and double down on themselves and like because a lot of people that I experienced were just doom scrolling social media all the time, it seemed like. And that was such a big part of that, or the news. And not doing anything with themselves and then just go right kind of right back, like time stopped for them,
Yeah.
for a lot of people at that, and then went back to what was normal when it came back and didn't have time to evolve. So I like being able to have people who went through that time and got to embrace having that time to get the right spot. And so if when people want to work with you, they go where to find you on the World Wide Web.
You can find me on Instagram. You can reach out to me on Facebook. If you're a LinkedIn person, you can visit my website at www.andreafung.com, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Yeah, like just drop a hi and let's get chatting, and then we'll see what we can explore together.
Cool. I like it. Well, thank you for being on today. I enjoyed getting to talk with you. And yeah, we can, if you want to come back on at some point, a little more than 6 months down the road, we can do something like that if you want
Yeah,
and talk some
yeah,
more. And
yeah, it's
cool.
been a fun conversation. Like I
Yeah.
love how unscripted and how it just follows the natural flow. It's great. I love it. It's a good
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah. Thank you. And yeah, we get to get into conversations that needed to get into. Like that's stuff that we needed to talk about and needed to get out into the world. And it wouldn't have come about a different way, probably like that. So I'm happy we got to it and you got to uh, help with that. So thank you.
Yeah.
And
Thank
I
you for
hope
having me on.
you're welcome. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. And we'll stay in touch. All right.
Thank you. Talk
You bet. All
soon.
right. All right. That's Andrea Fung. So check her out. And there's me moving around a bunch as I do at the end of these shows. So I will put her information in the episode notes. And you can check me out at rustydiamond.net. And this is the Public Access Podcast on the Rusty Diamond Podcast Network. I am Rusty Diamond, and that is the show. Man, boom!
It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker. It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.